So that was rolling. Mark. We good? All right, here we go. So this is pretty much how it looked on that last lap, isn't it?
This is what was left.
Yeah.
And you show the picture on the top of where I went in blaze.
Yeah.
And like I told you, I went out in a blaze of glory.
But not the way you wanted to.
I was wanting to go out in a blaze of glory. I just went out in a blaze.
Right.
Okay.
That's a pretty scary moment.
But, you know, you see that they had to tie the radiator in with straps and stuff. They didn't have time to weld nothing and all.
Yeah.
But was lucky it didn't hit the wheels. It just tore off all the sheet metal.
Yeah.
But it busted the oil cooler, and that's where all the fire came from. So then I found a fire truck to put it out with.
How were you running at the point?
Not very good.
No? Middle of the pack?
Well, I don't know if it was in the middle of the pack or behind the middle of the pack. But anyhow, there was 2 or 3 of us got together. I don't know if I got sideways or somebody hit me and got me sideways. But I tore up 2 or 3 cars because of it.
You might as well take someone with you. But how iconic is that logo right there? Though?
Yeah, that came about in 1972.
Wow.
We were the first race team to have a nationwide sponsor. Up to that time, everybody just lived off the purse.
Mm-hmm.
In 72, then we got involved with STP, and then once there was other companies seen STP could go nationwide, they started jumping on. And then I guess in 71, R.J. Reynolds got involved with the Winston brand, and that really took us to the next step.
So STP sales must have gone through the roof once they started sponsoring you.
They were already in Indy racing and stuff, and they'd done everything around their racing. And so we just took them to another level because everybody didn't watch Indy racing and stuff, but they did watch stock car racing.
Yeah. So when you walk by this car, what do you think? Do you stop and think about that race as you walk by?
Not a whole lot.
No?
Hey man, 30 years ago, hey, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. So
Yeah.
you know, one of those kind of deals.
Yeah, but you I would walk by this and think, yeah, that was it. That was the run.
Yeah, that's the last of the Mohicans.
Yeah. So what was it like that morning 30 years ago when you knew it would be your last run?
You know, I guess it was a pretty emotional deal. We had a driver's meeting and stuff, and you know, you're uptight to a certain extent, but I give everybody a little money clip and had what position they qualified and all that. So at the driver's meeting, I was able to do that, and that really, after a little while, I think I just relaxed. I said, "This is it. We're gonna get this thing over with, and then we're gonna go do something else." So I think it was emotional to begin with. It kind of slowed down, and then once the race got going, I think it got emotional again.
It will, and we're going to get into that for a second. But I know you felt like you had a chance to win that race.
Well, you always went into a race thinking you was going to do better. It wasn't a good year. I think we ran a second or third or something. It just was a terrible year. And I think with all the hullabaloo of being my last year, we spent so much time away from the shop and away from the race car that I don't think I ever got in a racing mode. It was more of a PR operation anyway, and that's what it was designed to be.
So what happened come lap 95?
Well, we had a little mix-up, I think, coming off the 4th turn, and 3 or 4 of us got to spinning and all this stuff, and it broke the cooler on my car. And I went down front stretch, turned in, found me a fire truck, pulled up beside the fire truck, and the guys come over and wanted to autograph. Car's on fire, right? Anyhow, I jump out, and they put the thing out. And so, you know, it's one of those deals I look back and I think everybody looks at going out in a blaze of glory. I just went out in a blaze, so there wasn't a whole lot of glory to it. But,
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But then we, you know, they brought the car back to the garage area, and it was just tore all to pieces. And so the guys say, you know, we hate for you to run your very last race and not finish it. And so they worked for 2 or 3 hours, putting a new radiator in it, taking the fenders off, doing whatever it was, gluing up everything, taping it all up. And so with 3 or 4 laps to go, we sitting there, and they let me go out, and I ran around a couple of laps just to say that at least I finished the race.
But I understood you could have gone out earlier and chose not to.
We could have went out a lot earlier, but we knew we couldn't run fast enough to outrun anybody, and probably couldn't run fast enough that NASCAR wouldn't have black flagged us off the track. So we figured if it was just 2 or 3 laps, they didn't have time even to black flag me. I didn't have time to get off the track, so I was still going to finish the race.
But to me, that speaks so much to who you are and what you wanted to do. You didn't want to be bigger than the sport. You were just a guy in the sport who did really well, but you didn't want to get in everyone else's way unnecessary. You see what I'm getting at? And to me, that's very much the Richard Petty scenario.
It was really a big deal that year. We had a couple of guys running for the championship, and I kind of got in their way because it was my last race. But the race was really around the championship race. And so we were sort of an afterthought, but also we were part of the thought. And so we took a little away from them, they took a little away from us, but overall it turned out good for everybody, I think.
I want to get you sort of the premise of Rick's book is what I want to get to next, which is, wait till you're ready. All right. What an amazing setup that day was. Your last race, Jeff Gordon's first race, and 6 guys with a chance to win the championship.
Yeah, it came down to the deal that there was, like I say, 5 or 6 people had a mathematical chance to get in the championship. But then a couple of the ones that was running for the championship had trouble, so it left it up to, a couple of guys. And it wound up, the championship was decided because one guy led one more lap than the other guy, and that made a championship. So that made it pretty dang close from them. But I really wasn't interested in who was running for the championship. I was interested in trying to do the very best I could. And then, like I said, I got in trouble or caused trouble and got in a wreck. So the rest of the race was one of those kind of deals. Like I say, we waited for the boys to get the car ready to go. My wife and my 3 girls, we all got up in the back of the truck, and they was all emotional. They was crying. They got me crying. They was glad it was over with, and they're glad it didn't get hurt. And the whole deal, it was very, very emotional at that particular time. And then the guys finally come and said, "Okay, we're ready for you to get back in the car." And I don't know if my wife thought that was such a good idea or not, but anyhow, I got back in the car. And like I say, we waited a couple laps to go, then we went out and ran around a little bit.
Do you remember what went through your mind when you went around those last couple of laps?
Not really. It was just kind of, I think once we had the problem and stuff, everything just become a haze. It's just, okay, we're just going to go through the motions. It's all going to be over with. And it was, I guess, just a sort of a blank time. I don't really remember. I remember going back out on the track and running a couple laps, getting a checker flag, waving at everybody when the thing was over. And then, after that, when we come in and made the pit at the end of the deal and come in, I don't even know how much excitement was at the race car or not. I think I was just oblivious to the whole situation.
Yeah. Boy, how the sport changed, because not only were you retired, within a year we lost that guy who won the championship, Alan Kulwicki. Yeah. We lost Davey Allison. It was a whole different sport after that.
Yeah, it's funny how things go along. Life goes along like that. Everything goes along good, then all of a sudden the world blows up, or your world blows up, and then you try to live through that, and then everything kind of levels out again. Yeah. So it was just a time in NASCAR that NASCAR was changing. I was leaving, Jeff Gordon was coming in. One era quit, another era started, and it was just a time of a lot of change.
It really was. So the book that Rick Houston wrote is called NASCAR's Greatest Race. So I want to simply ask, was that NASCAR's greatest race?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
One of those 7 Daytona 500s, maybe?
The greatest race is the one we won, you know.
Yeah.
But
you see what he's getting at, though.
It was very notable in NASCAR's history, just because of being my last race and the race being so close for the championship. So it was a big moment in racing.
Well, I called it the Alpha and the Omega because it was Jeff Gordon beginning his first race, your last race. It was sort of like a passing of the baton because the sport really went more national when Gordon became a big face.
Well, what happened, we had started into the TV era, okay? And so you had a new guy coming in. He started winning races, very upfront deal, drew in a lot of young crowds. I went out with the old crowd, okay? But we needed somebody, or NASCAR needed somebody to refresh NASCAR. And Jeff Gordon happened to be the man at the time and done a heck of a job doing it.
He did. He was great. One last thing I want to hit on before I let Chris have a few things. We talked to Terry Parsons, Benny's widow, and she said, people keep talking about NASCAR being organized in Daytona Beach. She said, it was not. It was created right up here in North Wilkesboro at such and such a hotel, and I can point you where. Have you heard any of those stories? Do you know anything about whether NASCAR was really created in North Wilkesboro?
And that's the first time I've
Really?
ever heard anything about that. I know, according to NASCAR history, Bill France and a bunch of promoters got together at Daytona and started the organization. The organization was on South Elm Street in Greensboro, North Carolina. That's where NASCAR headquarters were, their PR part. They done all their printing of advertisements and all that stuff, and it was there for 2 or 3 years, or 3 or 4 years before they moved it to Daytona.
Wow.
And
I didn't know that.
so it was it grew up here. It started in North Carolina, even though the meeting was in Florida. NASCAR headquarters were in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Your dad had to be part of that, right?
Not really.
No?
You know, I mean, my dad didn't even get involved in the racing until he read in the paper sometime in '49 that they was having a new car race, stock car race, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so he talked to a couple of his buddies had a fast Buick on the roads. He talked them in the bar in the car, took it over and crashed the thing, and that was the beginning of Petty Enterprises.
That's great. All right, what do we want to ask about Jimmy Johnson and the other things?
What kind of excitement level to bring Jimmy Johnson on board this Petty GMS deal? To me, it grabbed my attention. 14 big championships.
Yeah, I was going to say two of the three seven-time champions.
Yeah, you know, the Petty crowd got involved with GMS at the beginning of this year, and that was a big change for the Petty people and for GMS. And so we went through the year, had a pretty good year, won a race at Darlington, and had a decent year for a new organizations, because it was two organizations went together, so a new organization. And then this year, this coming year, 23, we're able to get Jimmy Johnson involved, and that's our next step with Petty GMS going to the next level. Jimmy brings 7 championships. You know, he's been all over the country running all kinds of cars. Got a lot of connections because he's been here a pretty good while. I think he's 43, 44 years old. So he's got experience that he can help my new drivers with, and then the new drivers can help him with a new car, because he's going to run, like supposedly right now, 5 races starting at Daytona. And, you know, then from then we'll decide, I guess, even before the season starts, which races that Jimmy really wants to run, whether it's a road course or the Charlotte or whatever. So it's going to be an exciting time to have 2 7-time champions on the same team. And I've never worked with Jimmy, but I've been around Jimmy, seen how he works. He knows how to win. He knows how to work with the fans and with the sponsors. So it's just going to be a plus for us.
Yeah, I think you just hit on the key point there. There are a lot of people who bring experience, but there are 2 people alive on this planet who bring 7 championships of experience, and they're both on the same team.
Yeah, you know, that the championships is going to help, because when we talk to people, you go to fan deals, you talk to sponsors and stuff, you know, which other team in the country that's got 2 champions on the same team? And so that's got to be a good selling point for everybody.
Absolutely.
Seemed like when we talk, and I've had the pleasure of coming in here twice this year in the last few months, that you wake up every day as excited as the next to go do some NASCAR stuff. How do you maintain?
No, you know, basically, I've been around racing since I was 11 years old, and that's all I know, and really that's all I've ever wanted to do. And each day is a challenge. Okay, what's coming up today? You know, we just had a meeting this morning with the GMS people, and talking about Jimmy and what's going to happen next year. Then we're doing this interview. After a while, we got a bunch of people coming out. Got a bunch of autographs to sign. You know, tomorrow they're having a luncheon for the Woods brothers. We're going over there for that. You know, there's just something going on. So every day is a new day. Every day is a new life. And you know, I like to sleep late, but a lot of times I get up early to make sure I don't miss nothing that day.